so remember, one thing that's unique about your class is we're trying to use a lot of digital artifacts, meaning that we're going to want to see your work produced electronically. So with that in mind, if you don't have a binder that you can just pull out and show us what you're doing, you also need to be able to keep track of what you've been doing. So in a binder, it's easy. You can whip through and pull things out. So one thing I'm going to be doing for you is putting up what I'm hoping you can do or check off from your list of things in math. So at the top of this lesson and the other ones, it'll tell you what I want you to be able to do by the end of this. And that's what I'm going to ask you to blog about. So when we're doing our assignment for today, you're going to end up doing these activities with your class. And what you came up with, mingling around and getting some of your own data, you're going to put up on your blog about what you did. So you can tell me how you were able to gather data, make a frequency table, and that kind of stuff. But I'll walk you through it the first time. So that'll be something I don't always go over with you. But the objectives for today are the top there. So it's always fitting that you start statistics with, does anybody know who Mark Twain is? Sorry?
So you wrote
No.
books?
Yeah, he wrote books, yeah. Anyways, he's famous for a lot of his phrases and quotes. This is one of his other famous ones that can apply to us. So it's from Wikipedia, so you know it's true, right? This is his famous quote. There are three kinds of lies. Lies, damned lies, and statistics. So statistics being the worst of them. Anybody going to guess why? You can kind of read in the article if you can see there. Well, I'll tell you one thing that always drives me nuts. Every toothbrush I see on the television is recommended by 4 out of 5 dentists. Every single one. Right? It's not like 4 out of 5 are recommend Braun and 4 out of 5 are Oral-B. 1 out of 5 are Oral-B. 4 out of 5 for every toothbrush. So what Mark Twain is getting at here is if you don't really know your way around statistics, there's a lot of danger in there between just accepting them at face value. And that people use people with weak arguments use statistics to try to fool you. They throw their statistics in to make you think that they're smart and make you think that what they're saying is true. So again, like the toothbrush. I don't know, there's probably other things on TV that's better than a toothbrush you can think about, but so what we're going to take a look at today is real simple. We're just going to do, for the first activity, people's names. So all we're going to do to gather this data is we're going to go to todaysmeet.com, and the room that I'm going to set up is just going to be called names. Okay, so todaysmeet.com/names, and all I want you to do in this one, this is all, you know what, do us all a favor, things will go smoother and quicker and you'll have less time to hear me talk and more time for you to do things if all you do is type your name into our data, because otherwise we have to sort through all the junk, right? So all I want you to do so we can gather up your data quickly is put your name in today's meet. And for my data gatherers, I'm just going to ask that you guys are going to, let's see here, each of you will probably need to get about, say, 12 names each from that list. Just copy it, and you're going to paste it into your email, and then email it to the JH teachers, okay? That way I'll be able to get if you each do 12 of them for me, then I'll just compile it all for us so we don't have to sit here and wait while I do all 48 of them, okay? All right, so again, if your name's not up there, I apologize, but so far what we've got is not a bad class list. And at this point, this is where you actually we're going to do this together. So if you don't have your binder that I asked you to have with you, you can just safely tuck the iPad away for a second. We can use the iPads again shortly. But for now, you need something like regular old-fashioned pen and paper. Yeah, question? I know, unfortunately, some of them didn't make it because one of the emails didn't make it, so. Well, if you feel really bad about it, I suppose we can add it really fast. All right, just say it then. What's the name? Tim? S-H? Okay, so yeah, I'll explain it one more time for you. So what we're going to record is the number of letters in each name. Okay, we'll fix that. There's 2 T's. Okay. So all we're going to do is write down the number of letters in each name. That's going to make up our data. So let me, I'll get started here with, just so you can see what I'm doing, and then you can take off on your own. So for example, if I start at Alicia, there's 6. Then if I go to Garrett, there's 7. Then Hassan, there's 6 letters in each name. Yep, you need to write this down. You don't have to write all the names down, just the number of letters. If you'd like, you can write the names down. It won't help, it won't hurt, but it's not necessary. So right now I'm at Nicholas, Judith, Robin, Angel, that's okay. You can, if you lose your place, you can use the numbers I've been writing up here. Oops, you know what? Mitchell's up there twice, so I'll just take. Let's see here. That's okay. Ashley 6, Kaylee's 5, Kaylee's 4. Okay, so just so that it'll fit there with the names I was looking at, I had the numbers. I'll give you a minute if you're still writing them down, and then we're going to talk about how to organize this data. So the next thing, this is your next gathering data, believe it or not, is one of those things that we were asked to do, the first thing. So you've just done that objective so far, gathering some data about your class. Okay? The second thing was to make up a frequency table, and I'll show you what that looks like. I'm going to take a look at all the different numbers here. So to start with, I know that there's a 3. So they're definitely 3s. What other numbers are up there?
4.
Yeah, 4 is up there. Keep going.
5.
Yeah.
6. 8. 9.
No 9s? Okay. So that's what our data set's going to look like. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? Sometimes we get 2 letters. Like I have, you know, if you have like a CJ and RJ, something like that. I'm sure I've had people with like 12 letters in their first name before. Usually they shorten it, but anyway. So we'll worry about this section in just a second. We're going to keep going with this data. A frequency table, the goal is to count how many of each there are. So unfortunately, because I only have so much screen space to show you, I'm going to have to scroll up and down. So here's what my table looks like, and this is how I want you to organize your data. Okay, so for us, it's just the number 3 for our data set that we're starting with. And we're going to tally up how many times that's happened. So I'll go up in the data set. There's 1, 3. So that's an easy one. Okay, so we only found one number 3. Let's take a look at number 4. Okay, so for number 4, there's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So for 4, awesome. Okay, so number 5, there were 13. Is that okay? Okay, how about 6, 7, and 8? There are 3 7s? Okay, 3 7s. Yeah, I see 3 7s. So 1, 2, 3. There were 11 6s. And then how many 8s are there? Sorry? 5? Really? That's fairly unique that there's a lot of people with long names here. Okay. So there are 5 8s. And now with this whole mess of data we started with, all these names and numbers, we're going to build a picture to describe what it looks like. Okay? And that picture is called a histogram. So I'll show you the way we create a histogram. We're going to use that frequency table to do it. So maybe I'll zoom out for a second just so you can see both. Is that still visible from where you are? Yep. Okay. So you need a little chart like I have here. And all we do is we start by marking our data points. So the data points for us here is the frequency. And this is the number of letters. And for us, what we decided to record was, let's start here with 3. Then we'll start here at 4. 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay. Now the frequencies, the largest number there is 13. So we need to get up to those 13 tick marks when we do this. So let's see what I can come up with here. So if I make that maybe 10, 11, 12, 13, then there'd be, let's see, 10, so that would be 5, okay, so do your best there to come up with the 13 in our frequencies. And my chart is getting very messy here. Let me just Okay, I'll just write it on the other side then. 8, 9, 10. Missed one, thank you. So that'd be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so what the picture is going to look like, you might not have heard the word histogram before, but what it looks like is a bar chart. So for number 3, there's only 1, so it's just going to go like this. Yes? 3 number 3s? That okay? Okay. No problems. I promise you I'll make more mistakes than you probably will here. So then we got to draw the number 4. There are 6, so it's going to get up to here. And for number 5, there were 13, so it's going to go all the way to the top. And 6, there were 11, so pretty close. Seven, there were only 3. And 8, there were 5. Okay. So that's one way we can represent this data. If you look at the picture, what can you tell just by looking at that picture? Is there anything you can kind of make out of it that Maybe helps out. What do you notice? You look at it and what do you see from the picture? Yeah, go with that. Lots of people what? Yeah, lots of people have a name with 5 letters, right? You mean, you might guess that, thinking, well, 5's probably an average length kind of thing, but now you can actually see it. Most people have 5 letters in their name here. What else? Sorry? Yeah, there's not many people with only three letters in their name. So the picture can give us a little better representation, and that's one of the reasons we use a histogram. Now, believe it or not, we've done 99% of the work for another thing that you're supposed to learn today, and it has this really fancy name. I'll show you. It's called a frequency polygon, and that sounds really scary, but all it is to go like this. You go right to the middle of the bar, and you're going to make a line graph. Right, so yeah, you can brag that, you know, today we learned how to do frequency polygons when you're at dinner tonight, and your parents will think you're so smart. But really, that's it. Okay, so far we've gone through 3 of your learning objectives today. We've gathered data, we've built a frequency table. Sorry, we've done 4 then. We've made a histogram, and you've just done a frequency polygon. The last thing I need to show you how to do today before I let you guys build up your own data is other ways that we describe numbers in here. Who's heard of average before? Yeah, well, how would you describe an average? Anybody? The middle? That's definitely a good way of describing it. Anything else? Anybody know how we describe it in mathematics? That's another one you definitely want to hang on to for a second. But average, does anybody remember how you describe this in math? Like, for example, if it was 20 degrees yesterday, 21 degrees the day before, and 22 the day before that, what would the average temperature be? How do you do it in numbers on a calculator? Add them all up and we divide them by the number of items. So that's one of the things that we needed to learn today was about average. So let's go and calculate the average number of letters in this data set. Okay? Now, while we're doing this, there is an app on your iPads. I believe I was told it's 219 divided by 39, and we'd end up with 5.6 letters. So here's, take a look. Do you think you might have been able to make a good guess what the average would be by looking at this picture? Yeah, so the picture can kind of help us see what around the average is. Okay, so that's one of the things. Average number of letters is 5.6. Okay, the next thing we want to do is find out the median. Does anybody know what a median is?
It's the median. The number in the middle.
Yeah, it's the number in the middle, but nothing is, like middle sort of implies there's order here, but there's no order up there. So what we have to do is figure out if we ordered those numbers from smallest to largest, who is smack dab in the middle of them. Okay? So I'm going to let you guys try and work that out and we'll see what you come up with for the median. Okay, so let me show you how I would walk through this to find the median. Since there's 39 numbers, when I find the middle, it's going to end up at 20. Okay, that way there's going to be exactly 19 people on one side and 19 people on the other. 19, yeah, so it's kind of like, so if you can have a half a person, right? Or a half a name, I guess, in this case. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, who was the smallest in our data set? It was 3. Tim. It was Tim, that's right. So what I could do, I'll just replace those there.
What were they?
They were 4s.
All of them?
Yeah.
Okay. Shoot.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count through the smallest one. So 3 is gone. Oh, I did? Thank you.
Yes.
Then next I'd have to count through 4. So I'm at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And now I'm done with 4s. Then I'll go 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and there's my median. Okay? So that's one way you can do it. There is nothing wrong with you going like this. 3, and then 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, and then, yeah, you can do it on the frequency table too, right? So that was the other thing I was going to make a point of, is that's where you can also count them off here, is you know the numbers from the frequency table. Now, has anyone heard of mode before? It's a central tendency as well. Yeah, good. The mode is one people mostly haven't heard of. It's the one who occurs the most often. So who's the mode of our data? 5. Yeah, so the mode is 5. Okay. And the last thing that we needed to know about describing our statistics is the range. What do you think it means by range?
Middle. Like how many in between?
Yeah, from the smallest to the largest. So what's the smallest number in our data? 3. Okay, what's the largest number in our data? 8. Okay. What about 1 and 13? Are those big and small numbers in our data set too? Okay. So the one thing you got to know about the range, you're right when you think it's this smallest to largest. But the range is always the one that goes vertically, the one on the x or y axis. So in this, the range of data, the values we get out of it, is from 1 to 13. Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I believe I've made a classic no coffee mistake this morning. Yeah. That's... Sorry. Range has another meaning, and I'm getting it confused from a different math class. It's not this one. You were correct, and I apologize. That's not in the data set. Our data set's worth 3s and 8s. So you were correct. My apologies. This one, the range of letters goes from 3 to 8. Okay. All right. So that concludes all of the skills that we were going to give you today, and I'll tell you how you're going to demonstrate those skills for your marks and things. The first one we're going to do, again, is together, but I'm going to let you guys, this could be part of the beginning of your first assignment, okay? And it's going to be a simple one with your iPads, which is going to be to tell me how far you live from the school. So you can use Google Maps. Let me show you what it looks like to do that. So I don't have my, what's it called, with me, my iPad, but I took pictures before I did this so we could talk about it. So here, where's Google Earth? Okay, so here's what you need to do first of all. Go into your iPad and click on Settings. And when you get to Settings, this is what you want to go to, is Location Services. Because we want the iPad to know where we are, and we're going to use the map to do it. So you should have one here for maps. Make sure it says on. Okay, then go to your home page. Maps is on there, I hope? Yep. Okay, maybe you don't need to do it then. That's fine. But what you're going to do is when you go to Google Earth, I know obviously, or sorry, Google Maps, you probably use this as much as I have. Oh, it tells you to use your current settings? Yeah, say okay, you want to allow them to use your current settings then, or your current location. Oops, too far. So here's what you should have on your iPad screen. And that's okay, but as long as it's hitting Johnson Heights for your current location. Okay? It's not bad though, it's pretty close to the theater. Okay, so here's what you're going to do then, is I just use Guilford Mall to show you what it looks like as an example, but you can type your own address in, and then you're going to tap the directions button here. So you go, your address there, and tap directions here. Okay, so to make sure you have the right data, what you have to do is tap on the little walking man there. Otherwise, it's going to give you transit instructions or possibly driving directions. So make sure you tap on the little walking man. And then what it's going to tell you down here, you may not agree with it. I've already heard a few people say it takes way longer than Google says. But down there, it says 1.2 kilometers or about 15 minutes.
It says 10 minutes walking.
So don't worry about the time. What we're interested in here is how far you live from Johnson Heights. Okay.
So someone's walking.
Again. So I've just shown you another way to get some data. There's other options, that you can come up with. Just clear it with me first. But I'll show you some of the things that I was expecting for you to do. We're going to have to talk about Keynote. That's what all that was. So we just talked about Google Maps. There's this thing. Has anybody heard of the golden ratio?
I heard of it.
Heard of it? Okay, so the golden ratio is an interesting thing in math because it comes up a lot in nature. So one thing I'll show you is, most people don't believe me about it, but I'll show you Oprah, right? Oprah's always a good source of reliable information. So, whoops. Oprah. So she had she did a show where she was talking about how plastic surgeons decide to make up your face, and they interviewed the doctor who was doing it, and he was discussing some of the proportions in your face that they use to make you prettier, right? And what the plastic surgeon came up with is he says they try to make it so that the width of your face, the height of your head divided by the width of your face is 1.6. That's about the ratio they aim for, which is pretty close to the golden ratio. There's also, even if you look, there's apps on your iPhone and your iPad. If you take a picture of yourself, it tries to give you a rating of how pretty you are. Because it's trying, you might have seen it. It's trying to use these ratios to figure out your facial features. And even scarier, you guys know they airbrush all those models and things, right? Yeah. Now there's a guy who's actually come up with facial beautification software. So when they take those pictures, he runs their pictures through this program to make their face look prettier by changing the structure of their face a little bit. Yeah, so anyways.
I could look like Brad Pitt?
Yeah, maybe. I can't remember the name of the app, but if you search for golden ratio, it may come up with golden ratio. So, a couple of the things. That's okay. A couple of the things here then that I'll show you could explore. What's the goldennumber.net? Okay. So there's a couple things you could do with the iPads, and I'll help you guys get through this as I ask you to do these projects, right? But there's some of the things like it was saying on the, for your face. You could take your own measurements and take the class measurements and compare how does as a class, how do we look compared to other celebrities, right? And then structure. So one of the questions you could answer for me is you could do exactly what we did, but you could gather some data on how our class looks prettier than Brad Pitt then. Or your argument would have to be, because if we look at our facial ratios compared to his, we stack right up there with him. There's other things too that you could do here, which one that I'd suggest, which is fairly simple because we have a ruler on the iPad, is your hand measurement. So there's a few there it's showing for a finger, but one that's easy is the first two knuckles there divided by the full length of your finger. I mean, think about it if, for example, if this knuckle on my finger was 6 inches long and then the other two were that long, right? It would look really funny if you play around those proportions. So usually, if you take that number divided by the length of your finger, you end up with this ratio as well. So you want to talk about how you stack up. Those are some ways you could do it with the iPad. The other things that I have in here that we would take a look at whoops, too far. Or just at the end, are things like easy ones. How many hours do you spend playing video games every day? Is it excessive? Well, you might say 8 hours isn't excessive if you're a gamer, because gamers do it all the time. But you got to have data to support why it's excessive or not, right? How many hours do you spend on Facebook every day? You know, you might think an hour a day is ridiculous, but you might find out that the class spends 4 hours a day. How many text messages do you send per day? Okay, no judging. How many of you sent a text message sometime during our morning classes? Okay, fair enough. How many people live in your house? Right, it might be interesting. Some people might have a dozen people. Some people might have one person living in the house with them. How many countries have you visited? Shoe size. Who's got bigger than size 12 shoes? Anybody bigger than size 12? Size 27? What's that? Size 5. So again, you know, you look at someone like Shaquille O'Neal who has a foot size of like 370. I don't know what it really is. But you want to say, do you have big feet? Well, you could make your argument based on, let's look at the class's shoe sizes. How tall are you? There's another one here. There's a link. All the data you need to answer this question is on that link about earthquakes. There was just an earthquake on Vancouver Island. Anybody know how powerful it was?
6.8.
Yeah. Okay. So what I would want to know is
that powerful?
it's pretty powerful. But what I would want to know is, if you want to look at the occurrence of earthquakes, all the data is there. It's a really nice, easy to read table. But should we be concerned? Are there more earthquakes happening in the Pacific Northwest right now than normal? Or is this, you know, just an everyday, well, I shouldn't say everyday, but a normal geological occurrence? Right? Like maybe once every 10 years we do get a 7 or 6.5 earthquake. So what you'll do when you pick, I want you to pick 2. You have to do 2 data sets, 2 charts with the bars and whatnot. We're going to go over with you how to put it on your blog and how to do your presentation with it. But when you do, you're going to then use those 2 assignments to tell me, Mr. Joyce, I can gather data. Look, I went around and I got everyone's shoe size. Okay? If you want to use today's meet, start your own room up and say, everybody send me your shoe size. Right? That's a quick way to do it. You know, it's perfectly acceptable for you to say, Mr. Joyce, I don't understand how to do the average value in a data set. You can tell me that, and that's still part of you and I getting together and learning about math. And then I'll ask you to do 3 comments on your neighbors. Go check out what they did on their blog and make comments about it. 3 of those, and that completes the rest of the assignment. Now, this is not like normal homework where you go home and do it all tonight. You know that block we showed you where it says project-based learning and flex block? That's the kind of time where we'll be doing it in class together. I'll be trying to integrate it in tutorial with you as well. There may be some need to do homework if you're not making good progress, but I'll be around to help walk you through as much as I can. So I know that some of your classmates aren't here right now, which is why I need to make sure that who is here understands your assignment, because when we get together, they know some of the lesson that you didn't hear, and you know some of the assignment they didn't hear.
Students, can we please have all the remaining grades?
Then that I'm asking you to do for math. Any clarity? I would like to say that we will probably spend maybe, for now let's say Tuesday, but I'm flexible if the class is, you know, obviously struggling. So it's our first technology assignment. There's obviously a learning curve to any software when you first use it. It might take you 3 days this time. It might take you 1 day next time because you'll know the software better. So all I'm going to say for now is that let's try for, you know, we'll give it a couple of days and see how the class is doing. But the due date has some flexibility. Okay? Other questions about that assignment? Okay, so again, you have the freedom to choose any of those 2, or you might have another idea that you like better. Maybe you play a sport and you say, I'm going to ask all my teammates how many points they scored last year because I'm a better player than all of them. Whatever it is that you think you might find interesting, as long as you do that, what I've said, collect the data, make a frequency table, you need to do it twice, then that can be your project. Just clear it with me first, okay? So we'll talk more about this in our flex block.